Hi there! Welcome back to my AI-powered mapping series for the ArcGIS web developer. Today we're focusing on sentiment. We're adding a dynamic feature to our map that responds to how you're feeling. By typing in your emotions, the map will use Azure's Text Analytics API to analyze the sentiment and update its base map style in real time, creating a personalized and interactive experience. So, let's get started. Alright, as in previous videos, we're going to start with a simple structure. I've already set up our basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript for our map. Let's go ahead and add a sentiment box in the HTML section to allow the user input on how they're feeling. I'll also include a button to submit their response. Now next we're going to quickly add some styling to it. So in the CSS, I'm adding simple styling to position the box on top of our map in the bottom corner. Now moving on to the JavaScript, I already have the basic JavaScript to initialize my ArcGIS map. Over the last few days we were working with a feature layer, but today we won't be using one, so I'll go ahead and remove that and replace it with the vector tile layer that we'll be using today. Additionally, we'll also need to bring in base maps. Next, I'll create a base maps object where each sentiment, so that's positive, neutral, or negative, maps to a unique base map style ID. And these IDs are from pre-created base maps that I made using the ArcGIS vector tile style editor. And I've done this really honestly for just simplicity, but a possible extension could involve using another AI tool to generate base map styles dynamically. Now I'll go ahead and attach a click event handler to the Analyze button element. When this button is clicked, we'll first create a text variable to hold the value of the text area element where the user enters their sentiment input. Alright, next we're going to create a sentiment variable to hold the result of sending a fetch request to Azure's Text Analytics Sentiment API endpoint for analysis. We'll specify the method as a post request and include the necessary headers, our Azure API Key, and a content type of JSON format. In the request body, we'll convert the following to a JSON string, a documents array that contains the required information, including a unique identifier, the language type, and the text input that will be provided by the user. Now once we receive the response, we'll parse it into JSON and access the first document in the array to retrieve the sentiment, which will be either positive, negative, or neutral. Now do note that Azure's Text Analytics does support these three sentiments by default, but there are ways to generate more granular sentiments through, say, a different training model or interpreting confidence scores from the analytics. So you can certainly extend the functionality in those ways. Now finally, I'm going to update the map's base map by creating a new base map object, adding a base layers array with a vector tile layer, and specifying the portal item with the corresponding ID for the determined sentiment. Great. Now let's go ahead and test out our work. I'll start by typing in something positive, like, I'm feeling great today. Then I'll click the Analyze button. We'll see that the API detects this as a positive sentiment, and the map style updates to reflect that. Now let's try something neutral, like I'm just okay. This time the API detects a neutral sentiment, and the map updates to a more subdued neutral base map style. And then finally we can try negative input, like I'm really sad today. The API picks this up as negative, and we notice that the map shifts to our darker, more intense base map style to match the sentiment. And there you have it. Using Azure's sentiment analysis and the ArcGIS Maps SDK for JavaScript, Your map can now dynamically respond to how you're feeling. If you found this feature interesting, please feel free to share your thoughts or suggestions for future topics in the comments. See you tomorrow as we explore another way to combine AI and mapping. And as always, happy coding.